Coming up, President Trump has been admitted to Walter Reed Hospital. We'll show you the video update from his Twitter account. Plus, a flu vaccine shortage is stoking fear in the UK. All this and more tonight on WEBN News.
From Boston, this is WEBN News.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to WEBN News. I'm Wesley Days. We begin with this week's top stories. We have breaking news this evening. President Trump has been admitted to Walter Reed Hospital and will remain there for several days.
I want to thank everybody for the tremendous support. I'm going to Walter Reed Hospital. I think I'm doing very well, but we're going to make sure that things work out.
This comes less than 24 hours after the president and First Lady Melania Trump tested positive for COVID-19. Vice President Mike Pence, former Vice President Joe Biden, and the president's son Barron have all tested negative. It is still unclear if the president will be able to participate in the next presidential debate. Flu vaccine shortages have stoked fears of a twin pandemic in the UK. Pharmacies have put a freeze flu shot appointments, and doctors' offices are putting patients on waiting lists or asking them to come back in December. The British government is telling citizens that more supplies are on the way. However, a survey shows that only a quarter of the population can expect to be vaccinated through the winter. A homeless man was charged in a hit-and-run accident that occurred Thursday in downtown Boston. After stealing a pickup truck from a Boylston Street fire station, 58-year-old Keith Andrade crashed into the gates of the Boston Public Garden. A woman was struck by flying debris when the car hit concrete pillars on the corner of Charles and Boylston Street. She suffered life-threatening injuries and is currently in a hospital. Andrade is facing several charges, but his lawyer says he has been misidentified. The city of Boston will not be moving to phase 3 of the Massachusetts COVID recovery plan. Despite the rest of the state progressing, Boston, along with 23 other areas, are stuck in the red zone. Areas in the red zone have had more than 8 cases per 100,000 residents in the past 14 days. Mayor Marty Walsh pleaded with college students to do their part by limiting house parties and behaving responsibly. The Bay State is continuously seeing an increase in coronavirus cases, but Governor Baker defends the decision to move to stage 3. Starting this week, restaurants in Massachusetts were allowed to reinstate bar seating and seat up to 10 people per table. Cities like Boston, Cambridge, Worcester, and Framingham are choosing to opt out of the relaxed restrictions and abide by the previous COVID-19 rules. Mayor Marty Walsh said on Wednesday that Boston will continue to wait on seat expansion in restaurants until the positivity rate in the city is lowered. The current rate is below 1%. A Back Bay restaurant run by Instagram celebrity Salt Bae can reopen after violating COVID-19 safety measures. Nurset Boston was shut down over the weekend after customers and employees were seen without masks, and large crowds were gathering on Arlington Street. Salt Bae, whose real name is Nusret Goche, has agreed to a new operations plan to ensure safety guidelines are followed. He also agreed not to interact with customers to avoid drawing crowds. An attorney for the restaurant apologized to the licensing board and pledged to cooperate with city officials. It's starting to feel like fall, I'm telling you that. This week here in Boston, we have Amr Panu with our 5-day forecast.
Thanks, Wesley. Your weekend will start off with temperatures in the mid-60s. Skies are looking to be mostly sunny with some clouds rolling through. There's a chance of rain on Sunday night, which will continue until Monday with temperatures in the low 60s. Tuesday will be sunny with some clouds and a high of 66. There's a chance of rain, which returns on Monday with temperatures in the high 60s.
Thanks, Amrit. I'll definitely be putting on a jacket. After the break, California has declared a state of emergency. Stay with us.
They call me Maxie, but I prefer tripod. I was your above-average four-legged homie, and then wham, bam, minivan. Some people pity me. Now that's lame. I still run, fetch, and swim. And the ladies love me. I'm the ultimate wingman. Just don't ask me to high five.
Welcome back to WEBN News. Now we go to Mlb Matthews for the latest in politics.
Thanks, Wesley. The Commission on Presidential Debates say will be making changes to their debate format for the remainder of the election. The decision comes after the first debate was riddled with personal insults and interruptions. The Commission is considering allowing moderators to mute the candidates' mics. They have not finalized the list of changes, but made it clear that they will be non-negotiable. The next debate, assuming President Trump is healthy, will take place on October 15th with moderator Steve Scully of C-SPAN. Republican lawmakers are distancing themselves from the president after he refused to condemn white supremacy.
Proud Boys, stand back and stand by.
His comments seem to have energized the Proud Boys, a white supremacy group known for their violent tactics. Senator Tim Scott, one of 2 black Republicans in Congress, reacted to the president's statement from Tuesday's debate.
I think he misspoke. I think he should correct it. If he doesn't correct it, I guess he didn't misspeak.
On Thursday, the Senate Commerce Committee voted to authorize subpoenas for 3 tech giants. Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook, Sundar Pichai of Google, and Jack Dorsey of Twitter will all appear in a planned hearing. The panel will question the tech executives about hate speech, misinformation, and perceived political bias on their platforms. Some Republicans are accusing the tech giants of deliberately suppressing conservative views ahead of the election, while the Democrats have criticized the CEOs for allowing content that promotes hate speech, misinformation, and incitement of violence. Back to you at the desk.
Mlb, thanks very much. A judge has ordered the public release of the grand jury proceedings from the Briana Taylor case this Monday. Last week, a grand jury charged Officer Brett Hankson with 3 counts of wanton endangerment for shooting through the wall of an apartment adjacent to Taylor's. None of the officers were indicted in the killing of Briana Taylor. Kentucky Attorney General Daniel Cameron said he is confident in the case he presented and does not object to the public release of the grand jury proceedings. The grand jury case tapes were just released today and are showing conflicting accounts of the night of the shooting. An Appalachian State University student has died from rare COVID-19 complications. 19-year-old Chad Durrill became ill with flu-like symptoms and later tested for COVID-19. After spending 10 days in quarantine, he began experiencing serious neurological problems and had trouble moving his legs. Doctors said that the virus attacked his brain rather than his respiratory system. Doctors also suspect that Durrill may have had an undetected case of Guillain-Barré syndrome, a rare disorder that causes the immune system to attack nerves. There have been COVID cases linked to the syndrome. It is still not clear how Durrill contracted the virus. California's fire season is far from over. 3 people have died as a result of 2 new fires burning in Northern California. The fast-growing Zog fire in Shasta County has burned more than 50,000 acres so far and was 46% contained as of this morning. In Napa and Sonoma counties, the Glass fire has burned over 66 square miles, destroying dozens of structures. Governor Gavin Newsom has declared a state of emergency in these 3 counties, as nearly 70,000 people have been told to evacuate. The collective burn area of all California fires since early August is the size of nearly 3 million football fields. And the combination of these wildfires and the COVID-19 pandemic have made matters even worse in the Golden State. WEBN Sophia Giordano has more.
Apocalyptic images of burning buildings and orange skies have become California's new normal. Every fall, dozens of wildfires break out in the Golden State, forcing thousands of residents to evacuate their homes. And this season is no different. Hundreds of thousands have been forced to evacuate since early August, as several fires have caused record-breaking destruction on the West Coast. Many of these evacuees find themselves at Red Cross shelters across the state. But Red Cross volunteer Larry Dietz says this fire season presents a new challenge.
So all of that COVID pressure plus the wildfire anxiety is not a good combination.
COVID-19 has complicated efforts to shelter fire evacuees. Before the pandemic, shelters weren't just a safe place for people to stay, but a place for them to gather and socialize, a sense of calm for those who aren't sure whether they'll have a home to return to. But coronavirus safety measures have completely changed that atmosphere.
But you have to have the temperature checks, you have to have an isolation area, there's no touching, there's no hugging, there's no hanging out.
In a typical congregate shelter before the pandemic, 110 evacuees could fit in the space of a basketball court. With social distancing restrictions, That number is down to 40. This change has forced Red Cross volunteers to utilize different types of spaces to shelter as many people as possible.
Because of COVID, the emphasis has been on non-congregate shelters, meaning places like dormitories and hotels.
And not only are evacuees more isolated, there are also fewer volunteers.
The Red Cross volunteer pool is limited, because we have a significant number of volunteers who are over 65.
But despite this combination of obstacles, the Northern California region of the Red Cross has continued to provide evacuees with food, supplies, health consultations, and a safe place to stay.
What we're trying to do is to harness that volunteer power virtually if we can. You know, in some respects, the pandemic has been a learning experience for everyone.
For WEBN News, I'm Sophia Giordano.
Thanks, Sophia. The coronavirus global death toll has surpassed 1 million. The United States, Brazil, and India make up more than 40% of the global death count. The U.S. leads with more than 200,000 deaths. The World Health Organization's Mike Ryan says the death toll doubling to 2 million is no longer impossible, considering the upcoming weather change. However, health experts warn that the pandemic is far from over. Continue to follow social distance guidelines and take necessary precautions to protect yourself and others from the virus. Now, our international news correspondent, Sujin Chang, has an update on the top stories across the globe.
Thank you, Wesley. The European Union took legal action against Britain on Thursday. Both sides are attempting to forge a free trade agreement by the end of this year. Britain is asking for a free trade deal similar to the deal between the EU and Canada. This will allow goods to be traded without any tariffs or quotas. The EU states that if the UK respects the standards set by EU companies, they may gain access to EU markets. The trade negotiating session is set to end on this weekend, but many expect that the negotiations will continue up to the EU summit on October 15th and 16th. About 2,000 migrants from Honduras headed for the United States entered Guatemala on Thursday. Guatemala recently reopened their border that had been shut due to the COVID-19 pandemic. In response, Guatemala's president, Alejandro Giammattei, quickly addressed the nation saying, quote, "The order has been given to detain all those who entered illegally and return them to the border of their country," end quote. Guatemala has now opened all of its borders. However, the U.S.-Mexico border remains closed for non-essential travel. The 75th UN General Assembly was held virtually for the first time. In July, the Assembly made a decision to allow world leaders to send in pre-recorded video messages to comply with social distancing protocols. More member states than ever took part in the annual general debate, discussing cooperation for COVID-19 vaccines, reviving global multilateralism, promoting gender equality, and actions regarding climate change. Regarding the COVID-19 pandemic, UN Assembly President Volkan Bozkır said, quote, "The call for solidarity is impossible to ignore in the context of the current pandemic," end quote. Back to you, Wesley.
Thanks, Sunjin. When we come back, we'll check in on the NBA Finals. Stay with us.
Me and my boy Matt had it good. He had catnip that was off the hook. But one day, he brings a girl home, and she's allergic to cats. Every sneeze was a nail in my coffin. Now I'm in a shelter. It's decent, but they don't even have Wi-Fi.
Welcome back to WEBN News. Now we go to Ezekiel Telemaco for the latest in sports. Zeke, what do you have for us? I want to hear about these NBA Finals. Talk to us.
Thanks, Wesley. The Los Angeles Lakers defeated the Miami Heat 116-98 in Game 1 of the NBA Finals. The team was led in points by power forward Anthony Davis, scoring a respectable 34 points in his first NBA Finals appearance. The Miami Heat had a few scares with Jimmy Butler, who injured his ankle, Bam Adebayo, who injured his shoulder, and Goran Dragic, who tore his plantar fascia on his left foot. Adebayo and Dragic have been ruled out of Game 2 due to those injuries, but both players have had a huge impact for the Miami Heat throughout the regular season and especially throughout the playoffs, with clutch shots and pure domination over their competition. It's going to be interesting to see which team wins tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Game 1 also reportedly brought in the lowest NBA Finals viewership since 1994. 7.4 million viewers tuned in to watch the finals matchup. For last year's Game 1 of the finals between the Golden State Warriors and the Toronto Raptors, 13.3 million people tuned in. After the quick removal of former head coach Brett Brown, the Philadelphia 76ers have reached an agreement on a 5-year deal with Doc Rivers. This comes just 3 days after the Los Angeles Clippers and Rivers split their ways. It also means that he will return to the Atlantic Division, where he will automatically be a rival of the Boston Celtics, an organization that Rivers had won the NBA title with as a coach in 2008. As for the MLB playoffs, a couple of wildcard games have stunned fans. For the first time in 17 years, the Miami Marlins are back in the MLB playoffs after sweeping the Chicago Cubs in a pair of wildcard games. Fun fact, the Marlins have never lost a playoff series since the start of their organization in 1991. They have gone to the playoffs twice, in 1997 and 2003, and those were the years that they not only qualified for the playoffs, but won the World Series. The Miami Marlins will be facing off against the Atlanta Braves on Tuesday, October 6th, and we will see if that streak will be broken or continue this year. Back to you at the desk.
Thank you, Ezekiel. I'll be watching out for those NBA finals. Now, Kofo Gelasso has the latest in the entertainment world. What's new with the entertainment biz, Kofo?
Thanks, Wesley. The 2020 Emmy Awards show, also called the Pandemies, was one to remember. The new virtual format didn't stop Disney-turned-mainstream actress Zendaya from setting even more records. She became the youngest person to win Best Lead Actress in a Drama Series for her role in HBO's Euphoria. She beat out much more established actresses such as Jennifer Aniston, Sandra Oh, and incumbent Jodie Comer, who set the same record last year with Killing Eve. Comer was 26, while Zendaya was 24. Furthermore, Briana does it again. The Savage X Fenty Volume 2 show was a celebration of creativity, talent, and diversity. The show featured celebrities like Miguel, India Moore, Big Sean, Demi Moore, and Paris Hilton. The casting included models of various races, skin tones, body types, gender identities, and many other things we've been missing on the runway for years. Way to go, Rihanna! And on a much more serious note, Chrissy Teigen announced on Instagram that her and her husband, John Legend, had lost their baby midway through her pregnancy. She explained that they are currently in shock and facing an unfamiliar and unfathomable pain. Despite the criticism she's received for being so public with her pregnancy journey, she has opened up a discussion about pregnancy complications that is overlooked far too often. Since Teigen's announcement, she's received tons of support from women and families who have had similar experiences, and has inspired other women to come out with their stories of miscarriages and other pregnancy complications. We wish Chrissy Teigen a speedy recovery, and we send our love to their family. Back to you, Wesley.
Kofo, thanks. And, for all of us here at WEBN, we send our most heartfelt prayers and thoughts to John Legend and Chrissy Teigen and the rest of their family during this really tragic time, and we are so sorry to hear about their tragic loss. Now to our final story of the evening. The first jet suit paramedic test flight was conducted in Britain. The suit was designed by Great North Air Ambulance Service and Gravity Industries and is supposed to help rescue people on difficult terrains in the matter of minutes. It was piloted by Gravity Industries founder Richard Browning. Browning flew up to 10 to 20 feet during a simulated search party where he found the walkers within minutes. Officials said the jet suit paramedics could be wearing this equipment as early as next summer. I kind of want one of those. I don't know. Well, we just keep talking here. Well, that's all for all of us here tonight. Thank you for watching WEBN News. For more on our show, you can go to our website at WEBN.TV, or you can check us out on YouTube. For all of us here, I'm Wesley Days. Have a great night.